Hola y bienvenidos a todos. Hi and welcome everyone to a Speech Bubble Languages session with me, Louise, from Speech Bubble Languages HQ here near Glasgow. Today's session is suitable for upper intermediate to advanced learners of Spanish. In today's session, we're going to be working on our listening skills as well as our grammar skills. To proceed with the lesson, make sure you're familiar with the topic of the world of work, and also that you are familiar with the imperfect tense in Spanish. Let's get cracking on with today's lesson then, shall we? As I mentioned, we're going to be practicing our listening skills today. This listening contains two different audio transcripts. Both of the audio transcripts, our speakers are talking about mi primer trabajo, my first job. I'd love you to read and to listen to both of the people in turn discussing their job role. What you hear is going to differ from what you can see on this screen. There are three errors between what the person says and what you can see on the screen. Listen really carefully to each one in turn and see if you can find the three errors that they make. Here's our first speaker now. This is Isabela. You may want to hit pause here and read it through yourself first before returning to the video and listening to that audio. Now, you're in control of the audio at your side as always, so feel free to pause, rewind, and listen to the audio as often as you like. We would recommend 3 times. What are we looking for? 3 mistakes. There are 3 errors in the text in front of you now. They're going to be different from what you hear. Can you spot them?
Me llamo Isabela. Trabajaba en una oficina de una compañía bancaria. Había muchísima gente allí, muchos directores y secretarias que no conocía. Trabajaba como ayudante del secretario del director general. Pasaba mi tiempo escribiendo en el ordenador y contestando llamadas telefónicas. Empezaba a las 9 y terminaba a las 5. Tenía una hora libre, a mediodía, y solía ir de compras con otras secretarias y comer algo en la Plaza Mayor. Después de unos días, me sentía muy contenta allí.
Okay, muy bien, everyone. Well done, everyone. That audio you've heard now one time. If you want to hear it a few times over, please do feel free. I'm now going to underline on the text where the errors came. De seguros, correos electrónicos, and cuatro. They were all incorrect. In the first one, Isabela says, trabajaba en una oficina de una compañía bancaria. Una compañía bancaria. So she didn't work in an insurance firm. She worked in a banking firm, a business to do with banking. Our next gap is correos electrónicos, our next error. She says in the text here in front of you that she spent her time writing emails. But what did you hear? It certainly wasn't correos electrónicos. Isabela says, pasaba mi tiempo escribiendo en el ordenador. I spent my time writing on the computer. That might have been correos electrónicos or something else. Your final error was in the time that she said terminaba a las. It wasn't a las 4, it was a las 5. It was at 5, not at 4. I hope you managed to pick up on all of those errors in the first audio track. It's now time for us to move on to our next person. We will see Isabela again in a moment. This time we're going to listen to Andres, who's also talking about his primer trabajo. Once again, there are going to be 3 errores, 3 errors between what you are listening to and what you can see on the screen. Once again, you're in charge of the audio, so do feel free to listen to it as often as you like, maybe maxing out at 3. Buena suerte. Good luck. Here's number 2. Andrés.
Soy Andrés. Trabajaba en una escuela de primaria. Entraba a trabajar a las 8. Trabajaba con clases de diferentes edades entre 6 a 11. Los pequeños eran los más difíciles. Necesitaban ayuda con todo. Hacía una pausa a las 10:30 y también a la hora de comer, pero no había nunca tiempo libre. Siempre había alguien que te necesitaba. Y el ruido de 400 personas en el patio. Cuando volví a casa, ponía música tranquila y echaba la siesta para calmarme.
Muy bien todos. So that was one audio playing. Remember, you can listen through to it a couple of times over. We're now going to underline where the errors in Andrés' transcript appeared. Our first one was in this corner of our fourth sentence. Second error was here, and the third around about this area and here. Did you spot the errors too? So what was it that Andrés actually said in each of these? What was the correct Spanish? In the sentence, trabajaba con clases de diferentes edades entre 6 a was not 12, working with different ages between 6 and 12. The age was, in fact, 11, between 6 and 11-year-olds. Our next gap, where the error was there, is necesitaban mucha ayuda. It wasn't mucha ayuda. It simply was necesitaban ayuda. Our final mistake then, right at the very bottom, there was some missing Spanish this time. Ponía música tranquila para calmarme. There was something else that Andrés was doing alongside putting on his nice chill music to calm himself down after his busy day. Did you pick up what it was? The Spanish was echaba la siesta. When I returned home, I would put on some calm music and go for a little siesta, a little sleep to calm down after his busy day working in the escuela de primaria. I hope you managed to catch those 3 gaps in both of them, so 6 overall, as well as maybe even managing to note down the correct English for the mistake, or sorry, Spanish for the mistakes as well. So, what tenses did you see in use in our 2 transcripts? Rewind the video here, and I want you to highlight, to note down, to point out all of the verbs you can find in the texts that were written in the imperfect tense. The imperfect tense. Hit the pause button here, rewind, take another look at those transcripts. So let's take ourselves back to Isabela. I hope you found all of these lovely imperfect verbs in the text. Let's try to say them aloud after me. Trabajaba, había, conocía, pasaba, empezaba, terminaba, tenía, solía, me sentía. Well done. Let's take a look at Andrés. A couple of repetitions with some of the ones from the previous one. Let's try them aloud again. Trabajaba, entraba, eran, necesitaban, hacía, había. Another verb from necesitar, but necesitaba, volvía, and finally ponía. Did you find all of those imperfect verbs? I really hope you managed to highlight them all correctly. If you're looking then today at this text in full and you want to maximise your lesson time, your Spanish study time with us, I'd highly recommend you now popping over to our grammar video where you can learn or remind yourself about the formation, the conjugation of verbs in Spanish in the imperfect tense. This will also allow you to become more familiar as to the reason why our speakers chose to speak in the imperfect as opposed to the alternative preterite tense. So do hop over and search for our video, Spanish Grammar, Imperfect Verbs. This brings us almost to the very end of our session. Do you work? If you do, what's your job? And what does your job consist of? Perhaps you don't work, perhaps you're retired. So what was your job? ¿Cuál era? And what did your job consist of? ¿En qué consistía tu trabajo? Maybe if you are currently working, you could practice your imperfect tense by answering the questions on the screen relating to a previous job that you used to do in the past. Don't forget that if you're studying in a live class with us, you can bring along your written work to practice and have checked with your class teacher. We're here to help you every step of the way in your Spanish language learning journey. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias for joining us today. Y hasta la próxima todos. Until next time. Adiós.